What you're about to hear has never been released until now. This episode is part of our exclusive Vault series, a limited release of live recordings that have been curated with care and reserved for this exclusive unveiling. I'm joined by my husband, Sunny, and we're bringing you stories packed with insight, heart, and energy. We're thrilled to offer you a front row seat to these powerful conversations.
I think we always were a little bit of yin and yang on personality, but we, as a young couple before we had kids, we were doing a Sunday meeting, talking and what was good this week, what was bad this week, what could I do better? As simple as that,
That
I think
came from the Catholic boot camp, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I think so. We had to
So
do
to go to this class before you get married in this church. I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
Welcome to Empowered Living. I'm Ann Shu. On this podcast, innovative leaders and visionary experts share insights and practical tools for work, family, and marriage. Each episode, we'll explore how to elevate your life while staying grounded in what truly matters to you. You're working hard to navigate relationships, build a thriving family, and create a legacy of purpose. We're here to help you do that with confidence and intentionality. Welcome to this episode of Empowered Living. Our guests today are Kyle and Maggie Gordon. They are participants in our current Empowered Families program, and they are incredible parents and business leaders. They founded the popular quesadilla restaurant, Dilla's Quesadillas, and we are so excited to bring them to you today.
While raising two kids.
Yeah, while raising two young kids.
So in this episode, they share how over 16 years, they've only fought 3 times. So they kind of share the secrets of that. They also talked about that they are the result of their commitment to each other, which was very interesting. And I don't know, we kind of discover how they're very into self-development and understanding themselves and each other, and they work really hard towards it.
Mm-hmm. And how they have really been intentional about building a life by design together so that they're not growing apart as they've grown older. What else?
And then we touch on that being relationship rich is way more rewarding than being financially rich.
Yeah, and how that's the true currency in life.
Yeah.
And so much more. We're excited to bring you Kyle and Maggie Gordon. Welcome to Empowered Living. Today we have Maggie and Kyle with us. Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing great.
So excited to have y'all here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I know you guys have been growing your business. I'm super excited to hear about that, but I also want to hear about how it's been navigating being married and working together, and how you guys have been able to find that balance that dynamic of home life and work life.
Yeah, we've got our 10-year anniversary coming up for the company. So we've been doing it 10 years, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Yeah. But I think that, to your point, the balance is really important. It's easy to bring work home. And so we really have to make space for each other and separate the work, have family time and connect to each other. So
way harder in the beginning, from a 10-year perspective, right? It's harder to think about those earlier days, but that's when we're really building it all in 50, 60, 70-hour weeks
with little kids.
With little kids.
2 and 4 years old, which is way harder than they are now, where they're more independent.
Yeah, they'll be 14 and 12 in the next month or so. So they're older now, more independent, easier for us to get away and do things that we need to do for the business. But, also just the financial drain of a young company that, the whole household income is tied up in it. Yeah. It's not Maggie had some part-time jobs to support us while we were coming up. But it's not one of us was a really high income and the other one was I'm going to go start a business and I'm going to grow this. And then it's the whole time we've both been living off of Dilla's, which has been that kind of long 10-year journey. Yeah. And so it's exciting every day. I love working with Maggie. We work in an office, she sits next to me. So it's not
we face each other. Our desks are face to face.
I don't even have a wall separation. It's always I just look over and she's just staring at me, waiting me to do something on the computer.
So what do you guys do though when you are disagreeing at work? How do you make sure that doesn't spill over into your marriage and vice versa? If you guys are having an argument at home, how do you make sure that's not affecting how you're showing up the next day and the energy that you're bringing to work?
I think you know, luckily we fight very few and far between. We may have, you know, disagreements at work because we have very differing opinions and views on how we want to do things strategically. And I think that's the good balance at work, but it does create some friction every now and then. Yeah. And really, like, I don't think we let that spill into the house a whole lot. It might have been more when, like Kyle said earlier, when like it was way more stressful. We were working in our house. Like now we have an office outside the house, but it took us 9 years to get there. So we were like in the house all the time with the stresses of house and work blending together. But I think the conflict piece of it really is pretty seldom. And we just, I think we just kind of have like a separation, you know, like the office, it's only a door in our house, right? But like it stays in the office, you know?
I mean, I've got a lot on this because I think that like a lot of it's personality stuff, you know, like just normal like marriage stuff. And we love what we do. So when we talk about it in a fun, it's helping us achieve our vision and our goals for our life, right? So it's kind of like, we like talking about it because it's usually like something good or it's a challenge that we want to solve together. But, you know, we are different personalities, right? And she's more A-type, driven, you know, detailed. She's pure integrator and I'm pure visionary. And so like that yin and yang and owning our own departments really helps. Like we have a Venn diagram, and so we meet in the middle on some things, but really not a lot. Like I don't work for her in a department, and she doesn't work for me in a department. We have all separate departments. So there's never like this like, oh, well, you haven't turned that in yet. Where is it? You know, like there's not really like that much of that. So that creates like not a lot of opportunity for conflict. Now, big strategic stuff, it is something where I'm like, I'll dig in. Like I'll set my heels and like, no, this is the vision that I've got for this and it needs to be this way. And she'll have to talk me into, okay, it needs to be down the road, or you're just not right. And she'll get support for that in a good way.
Yeah. I dig in on the details, right? And like
Mom and Dad fight at the office all the time.
They joke about it.
It's like the other team members like immediately separate themselves from like pull back from the table and they're like, oh God, what's happening right now? But like usually it gets resolved quickly, and you know, one of us will, you know, concede. And then at home, you know, sometimes I'm also way faster to unplug. Right. And she might have something that she wants to talk about that she's excited about from Dilla's. And I've already turned Dilla's off for the day, you know, and that's when usually there may be some conflict because she's like, oh, like this thing happened. I'm like, I can't talk about Dilla's right now. And she's like, well, but you know, we need to make sure that this is done for tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like, and that's like, and you know, we've learned to kind of, I think she's learned and I've learned, you know, to let her turn off. And then when those cues start to show up, that she can kind of be like, okay, like I just need to let him finish this show and then maybe reapproach, or can it wait till tomorrow? Like that's usually when the little house conflicts that bring Dilla's in is like when one of us wants to do it and the other one doesn't. That's when it kind of comes up.
And with the homes, I think that we're just really good about communicating. Like we see and feel those cues, but like we will also just verbalize, you know, like, hey, I don't do well when you do XYZ, right? Like, and that's going to trigger me. So like learning each other's triggers is really important for us, you know, to understand how to approach the situation.
And as the business has done better, it's allowed us to delegate some of the things that did create conflict, right? Like who's going to do this laundry today? Well, I mean, it's Sunday. I don't want to do it. Like you know, like I've had a long week. Well, who's going to clean the house? Like, so like we've been able to, as the business has done better, extract cash from it and say, okay, we're going to get it made. Somebody's going to help us with the lawn so we can like do, you know, spend more time together as a family unit. Like those things like took time, and like we had to be strategic about, okay, we're not going to spend money on buying shoes and purses. We're going to spend money on a person.
Making our life easier,
on a person to help us around the house, you know, like that, you know, like, cause you know, the things don't matter to us as much as the time does. And we've learned that building this business together. So that stuff has helped along the way, but that's only been like the last couple of years out of 10 years, you know, as we've been growing.
So for people with a younger business where they're still in the grind, like what would you say, or what would you do differently to make sure that it didn't bleed over as much? Because it might have bled over a little bit more.
Yeah. it's really hard, because you do need that, and I think that the most important thing is that there is a plan. So like that way, when there is talk about it and you're like, well, don't forget, this is our goal. You know what I mean? Like if we do good on this project together, it will bear fruit and allow us whatever that goal might be, whether it's financial freedom, freedom of movement, freedom of time. You should be working towards something. And so you can get easy agreement on, hey, this is what we're doing now, and this bleeding over, it leads to something. We're on a path, not just like we need to grind this out so we can make rent or something, it's.
And I think there's like the organization piece of that, like really being structured makes a difference, because it's easy to just, it spills over, you get to talking and you can just start spinning your wheels and you end up talking about the business and your off time far too much when you're not really making forward progress towards anything. You're just spitballing or like mulling over things, So like being able to put direction towards the conversation or whatever you're doing outside to bring it to a closure and not just let it linger, I think is really important. And the other thing is like, if we didn't put that work in, like it's what the business needed at that time. And we understood that, and we made sure our kids understood that. Like we were very upfront with them, like, mommy and daddy have to do this. We're going to go to this event today, but it's all for the business, like understanding, giving them that clarity that like, it's not that we don't care about you and we don't want to take you to the park and go play football, right? But like, this is for us as a family.
We know you're 4, but you have to cook your own meal. Here's the lighter, the striker, boil the water, you'll be fine. We're out of here. But yeah, so it's challenging, but like, everybody's got to navigate it their own way. And I think that the important piece is like respecting, regardless of what phase the business is in, understanding the other person's kind of like what mode they're in, how their attitude or personality is. So like you can kind of come to an agreement and start to recognize, the energy of the room. So it's like, let's just take a break today and not work on it. Let's reapproach when we're fresh, just the little tools that help do it, because you can't avoid it. I mean, it's going to happen. So.
And I think when the business is young, if you're not like all in, like if you are the type of person that can, shut it off at 5 every day and step away, is your business going to grow to the level you want it to? Like sometimes it just takes that extra hustle, but it's the clarity on why we're doing it.
We included the kids a lot too, like almost like, I mean, if we worked, I don't know, 60 or 70 hours like a week, like the kids were working at least 10 or 15 of those with us, like whether it was at night or an event that we would go to, like we'd bring them along and make them a part of it. So like Parker, like, he's our 14-year-old, like we have these 10-year hats and everything else. Like he is like adamant that anything that's like a 10-year employee or 10-year team member award, he's like, well, I get one. 'Cause I've been there since the beginning. He's like, he has a really deep connection and commitment to the brand himself. And he's like, he feels like he's a team member and he wants to have the things that are like the anniversary awards. Like he wanted a 10-year or a 5-year gold hat when those came out, and the 10-year thing.
He's like, I earned it.
I earned it. And we're like, well, like, what have you earned? He's like, well, I remember I built he like remembers all these little micro moments along the way. Remember we built the furniture together at the second restaurant. I'm like, all right.
I guess
What else are you guys doing to keep your kids grounded?
Like our kids, obviously they're exposed to so much at this age, there's the pure, like, I guess, keeping up with the Joneses of like brands and things and all that. And, we still are pretty modest with what we give them and allow them to have. So keeping them off social media is really important to us. They've got limited exposure with technology as much as we can limit it, like we just don't give them a free for all. But we know that it's important for them socially to connect through some of those avenues. So it's about like structure and limitation with it, where they still get some of it, but they have to understand that like they're not 18, right? Like, and so keeping them in the loop of conversation, I think, is really important on why we're making decisions on what they get and don't get and how they, interact with their friends.
The cake is baked, right? Yeah, like they're out of the oven. They're cooling right now. You know what I mean? Like we have been working towards this since 0. Yeah. When Maggie put them on a sleep schedule, we've been committed. Right? We've been committed for 14 years, and it's all bearing fruit really now. When you go to a party, man, your kids are so good. Like they're so polite and they're so, like well-rounded and humble and all of those things.
They
it's like,
engage, right? Like
they're not that way. They were created that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it took a lot of effort along the way to give them the attitude of gratitude, to make sure that everything can be taken away at any moment. Like all of this work that we've done, it could be all gone tomorrow, and that doesn't matter as long as we have this love, right?
Yeah.
So like, all of those things we've cultivated over long periods of time. So I don't know if they need to be grounded. You know what I mean? Like we just make sure that they understand the result. This is a lag metric of the lead metric of all the work we've been doing as a family for 13, 14 years. It's not just like, oh, like we won the lottery, like now we can fly first class to Colorado. Like that's not how things go at our house, So it's just, I think, how you approach it and making sure that they realize the ground that they're standing on, and like it's to just be a good person.
Lots of communication. We probably, like, if you ask them, they'd probably be like, oh my gosh, our parents like make us do meetings and we do all these things and like we over communicate with them. But I think that we're trying to Kyle's point, cultivate that like style in them innately where they can do that in the outside world, right? Like we're trying to raise them to be self-sufficient and productive humans in society. And there's so much that gets missed along the way, I feel like, so like getting them to have a conversation with an adult is like super important, right? Like, and just little things like that like go a long way.
Teach them how to leave, not how to stay.
That's good.
I mean, like that's the thing. It's like, hey, like we're helping set you up to be a successful 18-year-old because after that, like,
to launch you.
Wait. Just wait. The real world is the real, like you think that it might be tough or like, stringent around here, but it gets way worse out there. So we're just helping prepare you, give you all the tools so you can be successful when you go out there.
And even at 14 right now, like I'm having that conversation with Parker already of like, what you're experiencing right now in junior high is not what the real world is like. So don't take advantage of it. Like, small example, he's got a teacher that allows them to turn work in late. Like it's no big deal. And I'm like, you can't just use as an excuse to wait and turn it in whenever you want, because out in the real world, your boss is going to be like, it's due today, no excuses, So like translating what they're experiencing into what it can look like in the real world, I think is really important, like to connect the dots on how it applies later in life.
And keeping them busy. I think that that's another big thing is like exposing them, to like things that they want to do, allowing them to pursue their passions as far as they want to, run them down the rabbit hole. Like Parker with soccer and football and Grace with dance. She's not like a Renaissance woman. She doesn't like lots of things. She just likes to dance a lot. So like, it's like all in on that. And so like we support her all in on that. And like there was moments earlier on where she was like, shaky and maybe wanted to do something else and then kind of recommitted and then really started growing in it, and we've just supported along the way, never forced anything.
We were never signing them up for all the sports because they need to figure out what they like. It was like if he knew right off the bat he loved soccer, then we stuck with it. And I think having a business early on created an opportunity for us to give them independence as well, which is something that I think that I see that separates them from a lot of kids is like their independence that they garnered with us being busy, and we may have been at the house, but maybe we're on a call and they've got to like make their own snack or do start their homework on their own or whatever it is. But the independence piece and being able to have that initiative to take care of things on your own, I think they got while we were super slammed busy working when they were young.
They're also part of the grow generation.
What is that?
My parents are growing the business. They haven't exited the business. They're not their kids. Their kids have an opportunity to potentially maybe not have something like that.
Grow up a little more silver spoon, right?
Like it could be a little bit more like, ooh, man, we're not having to work as hard for this. Like some things more are given to me. I didn't have to pay insurance on my first car. Like some of those little things that can kind of mess the family dynamic up a little bit, especially like what you're kind of alluding to when there is some resources, abundance of resources. It can kind of, you got to be a little bit smarter generationally down the road. And so when you're, I don't remember the book that I was reading or the resource or the mentor, but he's like, just remember, like, you're raising your grandkid. You know, so like anything you want to pass down to your grandkid that you're going to be meeting here in 30 years, like make sure that it's going through Parker, through Grace, into that next generation. You know what I mean? Like all those little moments, they're going to really land on the next generation. So like, you know, lay them on thick.
Because it deteriorates like with the pass down, right?
Yeah.
So like you got to make it really strong in them.
But they'll have a different set of problems too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How? So you guys are in a different business stage. How do you turn off, or not necessarily turn off the grind, but how do you make sure that your professional initiatives are still serving your life goals and you're not just stuck in the grind, like because
like hustling
in the hustle that you've been used to?
Yeah, like addicted to the hustle almost.
Man, that one's easy, relatively easy for me. Who, not how.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, you know, as you grow through this, and like for me personally, like I'm a personal success like junkie, and like I love the self-help section. I don't get like nervous when I get found out over there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like, oh God. That stuff's my jam. You know, like I want to know what makes people successful in life. This life thing that we maybe only have 100 years of. If you're lucky, you get old if you're lucky. So, you know, for me, it was about putting people in place to help me have time freedom. I don't have financial freedom, right? The first thing that I had was freedom of movement. I could go wherever I wanted to during the day, be with who I wanted to for the most part during the day. So that was my first kind of freedom that I wanted to obtain, right? And then it was freedom of time, right? So I could do things when I wanted to do them, right? So first one was like I could move around a lot and be where I wanted to be, but I still need to do a lot of tasks. And then it was like, okay, I've got less to do and I can do what I want to do with my time. And then the last one that I'm working towards is financial freedom, right? Where I want, who I want, when I want, right? Like that's the thing that like I'm continuing to like grind after, I guess you could say. But you know, when I do my wheel of life, like I work hard on my deficiencies, you know, like I work hard on leaving the office some days at 3, 2, 4, whatever it might be, because I know that there may be a 6 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. coming up.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I'm heading out to play pickleball today at 2:30 and see y'all later, you know, because like I also work on Saturdays and Sundays sometimes, you know, like it's when you own it, you're always on and you're always off. Right. And that's sometimes the things that the people who are more employee based don't realize is that there's no off switch, you know, like you're always on, but you don't always have to be there, you know, so that's kind of how I look at it, how I've gained more freedom over time as the company's grown.
It's much easier for Kyle. As he said, I'm like the A-type detail integrator person. So I feel a lot of weight and responsibility of making sure that things are happening and getting done and moving forward. And like, you know, no one's losing sight of the direction we've got as a company. And that is my job, right? But like, I also still haven't reached the point where I have enough people under me to really delegate all the to-do things. So I still get stuck with a lot more to-dos than he does, rightfully so. He's like the CEO, founder, visionary. But also to Kyle's point, the team doesn't really see that, right? Like maybe I get to the office at 9 when they've been there since 8, but like I'm there till 6 when they leave at 4, you know? And like, that's a hard balance, I think. And because we have that freedom of movement of time or whatever, it can be an inconsistent schedule, which works for us, right? Because we can do it when we need to or when we have to jump in. But that does create some inconsistency for the kids, you know, when some days when it's like, well, Mom, you're still working at 6:30, right? It's easy to walk into the house, even though I think I'm done for the day. And then I'll just slip into the office and sit down. So they do see that, you know, and I think that I personally can do a better job of like turning it off. But then I get the anxiety of like, am I going to be prepared for tomorrow? Is everything going to get done? So I struggle with it a little bit more than Kyle, but he's very inspirational. You know, like I don't think it is inspirational.
Our job is done here today.
I brought a cake with me.
That's why we brought you
behind me. I asked for a fan, but
We're done.
No, but like, so, you know, I wouldn't have even got to where I am now without his far on the other end of where I'm at, you know, his perspective and like pushing So I appreciate like his perspective on it and trying to move myself in that direction. But at the end of the day, it's a good balance, you know.
Maggie also has expensive departments. You know, like my departments are like operations, which are expensive, but they're the first things that have people in them, right? Because there's an operator in every unit, you know, so they're each their own little mini CEO.
He's got a lot of layers.
Yeah, decentralized command. So like they're running their each individual unit. I've got a layer between me and them. And then like some of my other departments are very, you know, kind of have to delegate out. So like legal, real estate, some of these things that I can like kind of I can send it out and it'll marinate out there and then come back to me. And like hers are like more like day-to-day transactional accounting, team resources, right? Like hiring those types of people are, you know, 6-figure type of people. And so like we've been working into kind of, you know, fractional type of relationships. So she's in the last couple of years been able to get people plugged in to some of those things that like we can't bring in full-time in-house yet, but that'll be like her next step. Her next layer is when she's got full-time department heads, when she can really get that next layer of freedom.
So how's the business life? I mean, you guys are delegating, elevating in the business, but how is that serving your life together as a family? Like, how do you
Kyle
make sure
loves
that's
delegating.
Well, how does it serve us though?
Yeah.
I think that like the freedom of time and also some financial freedom, you know, like date night is easier to justify when you actually have some money in the bank account to justify it, even though you don't need to, you know, you could just do some stuff at the house. So that's been very helpful. Like I definitely, and I try to make sure Maggie understands this, I think that we do, is that the business is built to serve us, right? You know, like you're never meant to serve your business, you know, it should always, you know, do what you want to do and serve those purposes. And so like we've been able to travel more. Like we worked really hard for many, many years, no travel, no vacations, 5, 6, 7 years. And so like it was really nice to be able to like go on a weekend thing. We went to Cancun recently, like with, you know, EO, and like those little type of vacations and going off over here and doing these little things, those little things together, because we love to travel. It was like one of our little goals, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to start going on more weekends, you know, and so it's supported us in that way. And it's also supported our ability to support our children's desires, you know, like they want to go to college. We've been able to help out with starting to support that fund a little bit. We want to retire one day, so we've been able to support that fund a little bit. Grace's dance is not free. You know, like, so
Sure,
like,
far from it.
so like we've been able to sponsor that program. You know, so like there's a lot of different things that like us building the business we've been able to grow in our relationship and do new things together that we want to do. But, you know, back to your way earlier point, like how do we handle arguments and disagreements? Like, you know, part of the reason that makes Maggie and I such a great match is that we've probably had like 3 fights in 16 years. You know what I mean? Like we don't fight that much.
We really don't.
We get along very well together and like we love each other very deeply, you know? So like when you're that type of fit, you know, it's kind of like, you know, just like being around each other, and things kind of naturally progress in the way that they need to go.
Yeah. And the point of like having the freedom of time because of the being able to delegate and find people to help you, like the control piece is really difficult for me in the business, right? Like in my role, I've got my hand in, as Kyle said, all those departments, right? And like it took me a while to get to the point where I had the same girl for like 4 or 5 years, you know, and now I'm at a point where I've been able to give her so much ownership over certain tasks that I used to hold control of. And that's really when we were able to have some of that freedom to step away and be able to shut it off earlier at the end of the day, or be able to go on vacation and I'm not responsible for processing the whole payroll anymore. You know, like I think that it took me a while to really recognize that, but that was what I got back from it by like relinquishing some control and trust in that respect of the business.
The technology has also been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, how lucky are we to live in this world right now where we can like, and you know, Maggie and I, like if we didn't want to, we probably wouldn't have to go to the office for like weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, like we like being around the people there.
Yeah.
We love them. You know what I mean? They make us laugh, and we all like, I mean, we cry, laugh once a week, no doubt.
If not once a day.
If not once a day. So like it's fun to be there. And so, but technology wise, like, there's been some moments over the last few years where like maybe it's Thanksgiving or something and Maggie's like back in the back room trying to like solve like some problem that's like, technology based, but we wouldn't have been able to solve it remotely 10 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like her being able to jump in and solve problems on the road driving down to Austin to see my parents or, going to see her dad or like these other things, like it's really cool because the technology has empowered us to be more free and like less tethered to things. And so that's been, a big advantage for us as we've built our business in this digital age, like we opened it in 2013. Like, I mean, and technology's come along a lot since then. But like, I mean, it's just incredible how a new business is kind of very flexible and like there's tons of communication tools now. So we can talk to our team and like in like chat rooms and like all these cool things that like keep us connected. Even when we're out and about doing what we need to be doing.
And we've really leaned into it. I mean, like we will admit first and foremost, like we're technology heavy and like, I mean, we will leverage all the tools we have to stay connected, be in tune with the business. And we leverage that even in the family, like we're a very technology heavy family and like have gotten our kids accustomed with like calendars and email, even though they're young, just to like instill a little bit of that like communication and organization.
Yeah. It seems like you guys have really leaned into each of your strengths and really know each other like that. What has it taken to get there? Because, or I mean, was it very clear from the get-go?
I think we always were a little bit of yin and yang on personality, like, but we, as a young couple before we had kids, we were like doing a Sunday meeting, talking and like, what was good this week? What was bad this week? What could I do better? As simple as that,
That
I think
came from the Catholic boot camp, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like we had to do. So
to go to this class before you get married in this church. I'm like, all right, I'll do
it. But doing that early on, I remember like having it on the calendar and being like, this is kind of silly we're doing it. But I think that's when we really realized what pushed each other's buttons, and knowing those triggers, like just it's kind of scary at first to verbalize like, oh hey, that hurt my feelings when you did that, or hey, that like. If you didn't know, that made me feel amazing when you said that, like little things like that just seem to like pass through life, right? Like it's a moment that you don't recognize again. And like learning that through communication early on was really important, I think, in setting our foundation of like understanding each other.
Yeah. And like, I am a driven personality, and like, so the constant improvement, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that and I'm like, Maggie, I'm quitting my job. She's like, oh God. She's in constant state of eye roll, right? Like, so like, I don't know how strong her eye thing. I'm like, book application. And she's like, okay. Like maybe slow down on the books.
It's just about application, right? And like, let's take a piece and apply it.
Yes, but like red scaling up into the book, join an accountability group. I'm like, yes, I'm doing that. And so I got like, so it's like early on in the business, early on in kind of getting out of college life, it was like, what do we need to do to get this thing going? Right. And so like, we like really got to work quick. Like, we had the kids, okay, that's done. Like, no, let's do this next thing. So it's like, now our kids are older and we're still young, like I'm 40 and like I've got a 14-year-old, which is very freeing, to me in terms of like my next phase of life.
But we agreed upon that really early.
Yeah, we want to be young when they're old.
Yeah. We wanted, we like early on, I was like, I want to have kids super young. Are you on the same page? And but
I'll do it. I'll do what it takes.
You're sacrificing.
Practice with you. Right? Meeting in college, right? Like that's kind of like an awkward conversation to have in college still. But I'm like, I want to have kids really young because I want to like be able to have the freedom, like Kyle talks about all the time, that financial freedom and freedom of time and movement. We want that when they're still young and we can have fun with them. When we're 50 and they're out of the house, it's going to be incredible. We won't even be 50. We'll still be in our 40s.
A life by design. The earlier you can start, the better, right? And so like that's what I would say has helped us along the way is like, looking for the mentors, looking for the books, looking for those improvement points, right? So like, and then applying them to life. And then, we've constantly iterated along the way. Like we've never gone stagnant. We've never like had 2 dead-end jobs, you know what I mean? And like we're just kind of getting through life. We've always been attacking life, you know what I mean? Like we've been like, how do we improve this? How do we continue to refine this and make this better? How do we become a more efficient family? Like how do we, you know, like those types of things because of like my mindset. And then Maggie's, you know, happy to support it and build on it, read that book and be like, why is he so excited about this? Okay, maybe not. Let's not take all of this, but like stay focused on the last book you read because we still need to like execute those meetings.
Bring the reality of like what is realistic for us to apply, right? We can't take all of it in and apply everything. There's so much content and so many great like things you can do in life to make your life better, but like what works for us and our like personalities, our lifestyle, our systems that we already have in place. Like we're not gonna like flip the coin and like upturn everything we do because of one book or philosophy or whatever it is. But it's like, let's incorporate the important pieces that really resonate with us.
But from a business perspective, like EOS, like was important for us in terms of like just stabilizing and simplifying the business. So it became more predictable for us. Right. And like, you know, so like with you guys, like applying that operating system to our meeting cadence for the family, how we're going to plan and go through the family side of our life. So those types of things for my type of personality really work, you know, and I'll be committed to putting in the work, doing the study, you know, and like Maggie, since she is so busy, she only maybe gets 10% of her time and I'll commit 30 or 40% of my time to it. And so sometimes I'll find myself like that's some of my role. Like she's working on these types of things and I'll pick up some of that stuff and be like on the personal side, hey, we've got this planned. Let's make sure that we do this meeting. She's like, okay, like she can come back into it with a little bit of relief of like, I'm glad that, you know, you took care of that and you planned this, and she can kind of come into it rather than like have her having to do everything.
I think it definitely helps having one person more committed to that piece of it, you know, like if we were both at my level of like zeal for that kind of structure and like self-help and improvement, then we probably wouldn't have had the same result, you know, but his like overzealous commitment to it, I think is like the driving force that keeps us like, we're not perfect by any means. There's tons of room for improvement, but like really keeps us on a forward path.
Yeah.
How do you, like your visionary profile, how did you overcome feeling like restricted by all of this structure? Because I think we hear that a lot is the visionaries like, oh, that's too restrictive. Like I want the freedom. And so.
Yeah, or even coming into a family program.
Yeah, empowered families, EOS, like it's about the structure. And so how have you kind of wrapped your head around?
Well, I'm visionary in the fact that I'm creative and exploratory, and I'm a great brainstormer, drive energy, right? But I'm also, at my core, you know, lean more introvert, strangely, you know? And so, like, there are, you know, a part of my kind of mentality is a little bit more, I do yearn for some of that as well.
He's very disciplined, right? Like in his personal and professional life. Like he's routine based, very routine, discipline, and like I wish I had half the discipline he has. It's really incredible, but like
incredible, psychotic.
What are some of your tell us some
words.
of your favorite routine pieces?
Well, I mean, I've got like all the success stuff, you know, I've got my little morning routine.
Tell us about it. What's
well, like I wake up, I read a passage on stoicism, I read a passage on being the best dad you can be, I'll read a passage like that's a little bit more maybe challenging, and I've got a stack of stoic challenge cards that I'll usually work throughout the month. Some of them are really crazy though. It's like sleep outside tonight. I'm like, no. Put them on the deck. So there's stuff like that, but challenging yourself, you know? And then that kind of like, usually during that time, the kids are eating. So like, that's my like morning 6 a.m. kind of time with the kids as well, like setting them up, make sure they're happy and ready to go for the day. So I get that engagement. And then I'm kind of like getting ready for work. And then
The
usually
smoothie. Don't forget the smoothie.
You always make the smoothie.
smoothie.
Yeah.
The smoothies while you're
Personal
sitting and
health is
reading.
important. So I like to do that, stay healthy, stay on a consistent diet. And then I'm pickleballing and working out, like weights or whatever, 5 to 6 days a week to make sure I'm committed to that. And that's usually like kind of 4 o'clock. And then I've got my little day part there in the middle. It's usually 9 to 3, something
I feel
like
like we've fallen into just knowing our strengths, weaknesses, what we gravitate towards. Like we've fallen into this routine. He's like the morning routine with the kids, right? Like he's out there already reading his stuff. He's in the kitchen with them in case they need something. They're pretty self-sufficient now, but he's out there during that, and I will stay in the bedroom and do my reading in the morning and like check the news and read a Bible passage and like, but it's my solo time then. And then in the evening, I'm doing dinner and helping the kids with all their evening stuff where he's kind of getting his chill moment alone.
Yeah.
So like we've kind of like just naturally fallen into this rhythm, I think. We never really like, we're
She's more of a night owl,
Yeah.
anyways, and so, but at night, like I'm, really psychotic about my tracking, right? So like at night is when I'm like reviewing my VTO, my personal VTO, my business VTO, and then I'm tracking everything, my accountabilities for the day. So like, did I work out? Did I read my pages? Did I do this? Did I see a sunset? All my different goals are laid out. Where am I on that? Like
You should
so,
see
a
it.
sunset.
yeah, I track sunset watching because it was big for me this year. But like all like this little stuff like that I'm trying to just be very like.
Is it pen and paper? I
Strategic
wanted to
about-
hear more about the tracking. Is it?
Yeah, it's
like,
pen and
on
paper.
your-
So I'll print it
He's
out.
paper,
Like
I'm
I'll
digital.
redo it this year. So my new one this year, I might not have sunset, but I might have stretching. So like I'm 40, I'm starting to get a little bit like creaky these days. I'm like, like what's going on? So like.
I heard you walking.
So
across-
so will a 10-man come in here? And so stretching is really big for me this year coming up. So I'm like, okay, I want to create a goal around stretching and track it throughout the year. So it's just, like double-sided, but it's got like lots of different.
And I think
things on
that
it.
like
Will you send us a picture?
Yeah, I've got it
it's
with me.
crazy.
I'll show it to you.
he's got a crazy thing. But like
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is in that like natural rhythm we've fallen into, we have like there's times that we like are together, right? Like we have like every single morning before we get out of bed, like we'll roll over and snuggle, like and like making time.
Easy.
But like it's like routine at this point, It's like as soon as whoever's the first one that kind of like flutters their eyes open at first, like roll over and we snuggle for maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes, right? But before we start the day, like that's part of our day every day. And I think that connection's, at least for me, is really important. I know our like love languages have shifted over time. Like I remember when we were young and just out of college, like I think physical was like maybe his more love language. And like that's more mine now of like I just want like touch connection and like getting that to start the day is really important to like have that, keeping our
We've met a lot of couples who like want king size beds.
we still sleep in a queen.
Yeah, we're like almost touching all the
Cozy.
time.
Yeah, we are. Like sleeping is like
Even
gotta
at
have,
work,
like-
y'all are
Yeah.
like holding
We
hands
sleep-
across
yeah,
when you're like
yeah,
working
yeah.
on the computer.
But like it's we could sleep on a twin bed. Like it's not
I might
that big of a
call
deal
it
for
at
us.
a full size.
But like a lot of people, like we've made a conscious decision. Like our room looks weird because of how small our bed is. Like people are like, why don't you have a king in here? What's your
We got
problem?
plenty of room.
We're like, oh, we like to be close.
We just want to snuggle.
Yeah, it also keeps your kids out of your bed.
Yes.
Sometimes
No
that's
kids.
kind of nice.
Does.
Yeah.
They can't jump in there, so
Yeah.
it's been good.
Okay.
I think. Well, I mean, I just want to appreciate it. I feel like it's from the outside. It's when you say, "Oh, we only fought 3 times in 16 years." I mean, it's really.
And I can like remember those fights. Like
Yeah, but it's like it's almost unimaginable, but it's also very easy to underestimate like the work you guys have put in to doing it, like the routines, the understanding yourself, the communication, and then just kind of being very clear about who you guys are as individuals. I think
it's something that like I have a friend,
impressive.
that she was divorced and just got remarried, and she's like, I want to know your secrets. Like you and Kyle are so happy. And I'm like, well, of course there's like ups and downs, but I will tell anyone, even at this phase in life, it's like, it's the communication. Like understanding each other and knowing how your actions affect your spouse, your kids, the house, like the whole thing is really important. And like it just goes a long way.
We also came into it together with zero baggage. A couple homeless vagabonds. You know what I mean? Like we've
Straight
built
out of college.
everything that we have. We've paid every bill together. We've paid off every credit card. We've paid off the refrigerator that we had to lease to own. Like we've done all of that together. There's no baggage, right? Like, so we were just a couple poor kids who were, you know, taking shots at the bar, who could barely afford those, with student debt and problems, and we attacked the world together.
Yeah.
So there's never been this like, oh, you know, like this, or like that's your problem, or like, oh my goodness, like, you know, like you built a career and now I'm jealous of you because you have this or that. It's never been that, because we've always kind of like been building it together along the way. So we're like kind of a result of like our commitment to each other, instead of like, you know, meeting later in life or something. Like I think that's a piece of our success, is that like we've been together for so many years, you know, 20 years, where it's like really kind of have been there at the bottom of the bottom, and we know that we had the love then. When we had $0, negative hundreds, negative thousands of dollars.
When shit hits the fan,
so,
we got each other's
when
back.
things are good, when things are bad, like we're in this together, and like we will persevere and take on whatever life's next challenge is. And we've had lots of death in the family. We've had lots of, you know, issues and things along the way that everybody has, you know. It's just how you approach them, you know, and it's like living for the moment and like remembering that every moment is a blessing, you know, and like having the long-term vision, but the roots in the ground where you are. And so like just approaching every day like that, rinse and repeat, you know.
Yeah, unending support. Like we've been through a lot, and I can't imagine not having the support that Kyle gives me, you know, and I hope I give him the same. But, you know, it just knowing that you have someone to fall back on, that like at the end of the day, you can crawl in bed and cry if it was that bad, or you can like go out and party together because it was so great. Sharing that is really special.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, one piece of advice that you guys would either give your younger self or a newly married couple.
Don't take it too seriously. You know, like I think that, you know, people get overly involved in like the grind and the, you know, the look, your outward appearance, you know what I mean? Like focus inwardly, you know, like if that is strong and shiny, that will shine through anything else that is the facade of your life that people kind of think is going on in there. So, you know, persevere, have fun along the way is my best advice.
I think just be real with people and connect on a real level. You know, I think that once you let go of any anxiety around sharing your true self, whether it's friends, family, you know, with what level you're comfortable with coworkers, but like people knowing who you are in a real sense will help you feel freer, and you'll feel more supported, you know, and just being able to connect. I think like there's just a lot of stigma about things being superficial and like high level conversation, like deeper connection and letting people understand who you really are and getting to know them for who they really are will make every relationship you have stronger.
Yeah. And relationships are the currency of life, not money. You know what I mean? So like people with very rich relationships have very rich lives. You know, it's not about the dollars in the bank account at the end of the day. You know, so I think that, you know, I try to keep that in perspective in terms of like what I'm doing, what I'm putting my energy towards, especially when I'm feeling like I should have more. Those moments, everybody has, I want that Ferrari, whatever it might be. And then like reflecting on, but what do I have? Right? Well, I've got this time and this connection. I know so many great people. I can call somebody and go have a great lunch right now. Like a lot of people who have the Ferrari don't have that. And I would consider my relationships more valuable than the things, you know? And so like those things can come and you can have them, but just realizing that what you do currently have is way more valuable. So just always having that perspective. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Enjoyed the conversation.
Good times.
I love it.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Thanks for tuning in to Empowered Living. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration and gave you tools to live more intentionally in your family, work, and life. If you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story or actionable takeaway. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them, because living an intentional life is better when we do it together. Until next time, remember, the life you want doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. Let's keep creating it one step at a time.